Hey y'all, I'm Daniel and this is Deacon Outdoors. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Told you on the last video I was going to kind of go over the results from my last range day with the load development. So I've got the Rangecraft data wrote down on the sheets with the groupings, and I'm going to kind of just show you here real quick. Get it to where you all can see it here. There we go. With the groups and the SD and extreme spreads from 1 to 2 and then 3 to 4. They started tightening up and then opening back up. Then we get to the 7. This was the closest SD and extreme spread that I had for the day. Not the tightest group. This was the tightest group, but a little bit different on the SD and the spread. Not much. I did have the tightest here. So what I did is I've got 20 rounds of the RDFs and 20 rounds of the ELDM Hornadies loaded up with the 37.7. I'm going to go to the range tomorrow and see how it shoots at 100, 200, and 300, and see what we can do with this one. Probably going to regret it because this group size is tighter, and I think this one would have been even better had I got a little bit closer. As you can see, I had 2 identical loads or speeds and one that was 10 feet per second faster, which could have been just a couple of little flakes of powder difference. So depending on how this does, I'll probably come back and reload 0.9s and go try those out, since that, I think that's probably going to be my node with the barrel. But that's all part of reloading, guys. It's just test and make changes and test and make changes and see what it does. But I've got the information off the WITT machine SME device that I tried with factory ammo, and these were my last 6 shots. Now granted, this was my first one, and then it dropped down to here and shot these 3 and then came back up and shot these 2. But if you see the difference in the SD and the spread, you'll see why it did it. And that's factory loaded ammo, and that is match ammo on top of it. So just because it says match don't mean it's going to be as tight a tolerance as what your hand loads are going to be. But either way, that wasn't the goal of this. The goal was to see if I could make that device group with a different load. And that actually, that measures out to just a shade over 1.25 inches for that group. And if you remember, the first targets that I shot with that device were terrible. I was shooting 140 grain ELD match ammo, and this time I was shooting 147 grain. Will retract my original video about the WITT machine device, because as I stated before, I didn't give it a fair shake because I only give it a few shots. But to go from what I did in the past video, and you can go back and find that on my channel and see what it did, to this go around, night and day difference, guys, and that's my fault for not giving it its due and doing more than one type of ammo and one weight of ammo. So you can find factory ammo that's going to shoot good with that device if you so choose to order one. And as I stated on my video, I did shoot it without hearing protection. And as a shooter, I wouldn't recommend shooting without hearing protection. I think the people around the line behind you would benefit from you shooting that over a break. And that's about the only thing that I could see good for having that device instead of a suppressor. By no means would I shoot that 6.5 without hearing protection, even with that on. It's still got a pretty good crack, even though it's not as bad. And the recoil wasn't as reduced as it is with just a break, but it was nowhere as harsh as it was without shooting anything on the end of the barrel. I mean, it did bring a little bit of the recoil back with the sleeve on it, but it was not like it was if you didn't have anything on the barrel. So something else I kind of wanted to touch really quick on, since I'm talking about hand loads, is I have been watching several other reloading channels that have been doing a lot longer than I have, even though I have loaded for a while. The advantage of using the comparator instead of measuring the rim to me-plat is the tips can vary on the different bullets. And tonight was the first time I really checked it, and I've got a couple sitting here I'm going to show you real quick, because that's the way I used to reload all the time, was without a comparator. And I bought the Hornady comparator set, the lock and load comparator set. And these are two that I just loaded up tonight. These are the RDF nozzlers. If I measure like I normally do, this one here, if you can see that, should be able to get it for you there. Okay, so that one measures 2.817. Okay, here's the other one. Swap it out, and this one, you can see that, 2.829. And that is from the rim to the me-plat of the bullet. And the reason you want to use a comparator is because the points on the bullets can be a little deformed. Maybe one side of it has a little bit of a lip on it, and you measure to that instead of the ogive, which is what the comparator does. Same two bullets. And drop that in there and give it just a little bit of spin. Now that one is measuring 2.814815. There you go. And here's the other one. Stick that one in there. Get it flattened out on the flat. You can see that 2.18. Yeah, 2.186. And this one was right at 2.185. And that's the difference in measuring from the rim to the ogive or the rim to the me-plat. And that's 1,000th difference on the measurement to the ogive with the comparator. And it was 12 thousandths on the rim to me-plat. So that's a decent amount of difference in your seating depth to affect your accuracy. So 15-20 bucks can get you the little Hornady lock and load kit. That's what I picked up, and that right there is the reason why I'm glad I did. So I learned something new, and I hope that you all do as well. If you're going to get into reloading, pick up a comparator and measure your seating depths, because if I would have went off the old way that I did it, I would have been fidgeting with that, because I got a micrometer die in here now. I would have been fidgeting with that micrometer so much that I would have drove myself crazy trying to get it adjusted whenever I was getting the exact same results and didn't realize it, because I measured the overall length and not to the ogive, and that never changes. So that's just a little FYI for reloading. But again, I'm going for as accurate as I can make my hand loads and in my guns. So speaking of guns, I'm finally getting to start my 7mm 08 build series. I got don't know if you can tell, I'll bring it a little bit closer so you can see it on camera. But I got the Factory Savage 110 pencil barrel, 7mm 08, and I got it installed today, torqued down, ready to go, head spaced, and this is going to be the factory setup that I'm going to start my build series with. It's as close to factory as I can be to start with. It's still got the factory AccuTrigger in it. I have not changed anything at all on this gun. The only thing I did was I did put a factory barrel that is a hunting barrel, and then we'll be able to start building and changing things out from here over the next several videos to increase the accuracy. The only thing is I'm starting with it in a tactical stock instead of a Tupperware stock that you would normally get on the 110, which this one's a little bit stiffer, but for our purposes, what I'm doing on this series, it's good enough. I mean, to get a starting point. The barrel and the trigger and the hand loads and all those combinations of things that I'm going to be doing, and a different barrel, the muzzle brake, and different things like that. That's what's going to matter over the course of the series. So I'm taking it with me tomorrow as well. I picked up a box of American Whitetail Hornady ammo. The only thing I could find in a factory that I could get for 7mm 08. It's not what I want to go with. This is the 139 grain interlocks. Eventually, when I do get the match barrel for it, I'm on a hand load 162 grain ELDMs for that barrel. This one, I think 150 is going to be pushing the speed on this barrel. So as soon as I can find some decent 150 grain 7mm factory ammo, I do want to shoot a couple different things through this barrel before I change the trigger or anything to start changing the accuracy from the factory setup. So I'm really excited to finally get started with that build series, and I hope you all follow along with that one. I am going to be also doing a reloading series, and I'm going to do it in conjunction with the rifle build, because I'm going to have to build the ammo to go with the rifle as I build it. Once I find if the 150 shoot good through this barrel, then I'll start hand loading to shoot this barrel, because the match barrel is not going to be here till August, and I can hand load for this barrel just like I can that one, just to go through the series. And then once we get to that point, then we can change it over and start working with that barrel. But like I said, I'm excited to finally get going on the build series. I've had a lot of support from different manufacturers with this build, and helping me with some different purchases of what I need to make this something that's relatively inexpensive, instead of having all the high dollar stuff. So gonna get going with that tomorrow, and we'll have footage of the Axis shooting the nozzlers and the ELDMs at the powder charge I showed you. Coming up, I'm gonna have a bow reveal. Got a recurve in this weekend, and talked to Kaz Amons and Kramer Amons at Shatterproof Archery. This is one of the most inexpensive bows you can find, and it's something that I've seen tested over and over, so I felt pretty comfortable buying one. Got one of their strings from Shatterproof, actually came in today, so I'm anxious to get that going. All right, guys, that's all I got. So I'll be kicking off my 708 tomorrow and see how we do with getting the baseline and the starting point for the build. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next one.